ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Down the Middle podcast. As you see, my partner, he's supposed to be here, my co-host, Jake's supposed to be here, but like I said in the video yesterday, he got abducted or whatnot by whoever. I don't know what's going on. Looks like I might be going solo today, like I said. Hopefully something happens and he'll be here, but like I said, today's episode is dubbed Right and Wrong. There's a lot of right things going on in wrestling and a lot of wrong things going on in wrestling. And the wrong thing right now is not having my co-host here, but I wish he was here.
Oh, they left my headphones. What's going on?
Hi, buddy. Are you okay?
I don't know. They, all things considered, it could be worse. They let me out to do this podcast because they still want to keep the algorithm going, but I digress.
Well, who's that? Like everybody who doesn't know that on the Average Jones podcast, they did a live episode on Wednesday. I talked about my video yesterday. Something happened to Jake and Eric, and they got attacked or abducted or something and whatnot. What's going on?
I actually can't tell you that. I can't tell anyone that. It will all be revealed when they allow us to. Suffice it to say, they're very, they want us to not reveal any details yet until the re-education process is complete. But fortunately, that has nothing to do with wrestling. So, and they let me watch wrestling. So, let's get into it.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, the episode's been done right and wrong. Like I said, there's been a lot of rights done in wrestling, a lot of wrongs done in wrestling. And needless to say, you got a lot of wrongs and stuff when it comes to, when you jump into the releases of the NXT.
Yeah, that was all right.
Well,
I'm kidding, for the most part.
I mean, some I knew, some I didn't know. I knew Mercedes Martinez, who to me, that is a big wrong. You're going to hear right and wrong a lot in this episode, probably. She's in her 40s, or 40 itself. And she's been doing it for a long time, and she's doing Shimmer and Shine and everything, a bunch of ladies wrestling promotions, and now she finally got her break with WWE, and I think the last time I seen her was when she got Black Mass right in the head. And I'm not making fun of that or nothing because nobody wants to get hurt, get injured, but I don't think they used her ever since. And it was funny enough, just like her tag team partner that was in the match, Jake Atlas, he also got released as well. So it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm not even sure how to take these WWE releases anymore, to be honest, because they seem not random, but they seem very knee-jerk reaction. And frankly, if somebody like Bray Wyatt is going to get released, I mean, very few people are safe, in my opinion. Probably the biggest shock release was Bobby Fish. And I only say that's a surprise because they were actually doing something with mostly Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, but Bobby Fish was around, and Roderick Strong's got a new gimmick. And I'll be honest, WWE's been really hard to watch lately. Like, I literally was able to go through Raw, NXT, and SmackDown last night because I fast forwarded through 80% of it because I just didn't care. Like, it's just, I don't care. Like this Dexter Loomis thing. Who first of all, who the fuck is Dexter Loomis?
Um, Dexter Lumis is the guy who's in love with Indy Hartwell, and
Yeah, who the
Indy
hell's
was
Indy Hartwell?
she was in the faction with the wrestling family, Johnny Wrestling and Candace Wrestling.
Yeah,
Who, which,
that whole thing's not creepy at all.
which I will say off camera, not off camera, but and a side note, congratulations to Johnny Gargano against Lorraine. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, because they are expecting a baby.
No. Yeah, Bobby Fish, he was one of those that's like, what?
Well, and here's the thing. I think WWE really shot themselves in the foot there because unless something's happened, Adam Cole is no longer under contract, or at least will. I know he signed an extension. His official contract ended, and then he signed an extension deal. I don't know how long that was. I think it's through Takeover.
Yeah,
And
it's still after Takeover a week from tonight.
yep. And then I'm not sure what Kyle O'Reilly's contract status is, but
I think his is fine. I think his and Roderick's are fine.
right. But my point is like even if they have another year left, like
Right.
if Adam Cole leaves, which I have a feeling he will, because he didn't re-sign immediately, so he's probably not crazy, and he's seen what they've done to Karrion Kross, which is another really really wrong thing. And there's a rumor going around about that I don't believe, but if it's true, I mean, talk about stupid. Apparently, there's a rumor that Vince McMahon is mad at Triple H because they lost. I use big air quotes for lost. They lost the Wednesday Night Wars against AEW, and now he's punishing him by basically ruining NXT.
Right. Him, Bruce Pritchard, and Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace is ruining NXT because if he can't believe in Triple H to take the developmental brand, even though it's supposed to, when it started it was developmental, but over time it became its own brand, like Raw and SmackDown. Um, if a developmental brand can't beat a actual big company, then why would I let Triple H? This was saying by abundance. Why would I let Triple H run my company?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna point out the irony on that by saying it's really ironic because when NXT was relegated to the WWE network, it was not arguably, it was better than Raw and SmackDown. And the irony is that if NXT had been put on the USA Network at that time, it probably would have beaten Raw in the ratings.
I'm not disagreeing with that either. I'm not at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying because then Vince would have been like pissed because NXT was Triple H's baby. Granted, he did it with WWE's money, but he was in charge of it and built it into this huge popular thing, but it was relegated to the WWE network, so only diehards could see it. But if you would put that on TV, I would expect that just what happened with AEW would have happened with NXT, but they put it on TV too late and they only did it as a reaction to AEW.
Right.
Now, this was after they already started poaching NXT needlessly by the main roster, and then when they did poach NXT, they would take those talents, those performers, particularly the men, but they did it with a couple of women too, and they would basically just ruin them within
And,
one or two appearances. They did it with Aleister Black. They didn't do it so badly with Ricochet, but I mean he didn't he wasn't in NXT nearly long enough in my opinion because they just threw him up to the main roster and now he's relegated to the mid card.
look at Karrion Kross.
Well, and then Karrion Kross, and then they did the same thing with Shinsuke. They did the same thing with Samoa Joe. They did the same thing with I mean, the list goes on and on. They did it really bad with the Ascension when they brought them up. It happened to Tyler Breeze. It happened to
Andrade.
Andrade. Yep, big time. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's a much smaller number of people that went from NXT to the main roster and were successful. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being, and it took Sami Zayn a while.
Too long.
Yeah, way too long.
He went from being NXT champion when he was down there, which he didn't even hold it down long.
Right.
And then he gets to the main roster, and then he just floats around. That had to be the pandemic of all things to finally let him actually talk and do stuff just to win the Intercontinental title.
Yep, I know. That's one of the many wrong things. Like I said, I don't think that's true. I do think that WWE as a company is exerting more control over NXT, and I think that's the problem because they're now probably overriding or over managing it. And then plus the departure of Dusty was a turning point, which that was nobody's fault, obviously, but that was certainly a turning point in NXT.
I just think that they realized that even when as soon as they lost the Wednesday Night Wars, they knew their strength. And they know that AEW is going to take over.
Well, that's one of the main things I wanted to talk about is AEW. Don't get me wrong, AEW is still on a big track, but there's a lot that happened in the past couple of weeks that really showed some of AEW's problems. Not least of which being the Max Caster incident, which I'm sure you watched.
Yes.
So, but here's the thing, at least, and this is just my opinion, but I don't blame Max Caster for that. I blame AEW. And the reason being is to kind of, quote what Kurt Angle said about his, or what would have been his first ECW appearance with the Sandman being crucified. Paulie told him, it's like, well, like the guys pretty much do whatever they want around here, so I didn't know anything about it. And he basically said in response to that was, okay, yeah, I get it. It's a little bit different around here. But if you don't know what your performers are going out there and doing for the most part, like what the hell are you doing? And then here's the other part of it. So Max Caster goes out and does this rap. And you remember, I think I said this on the podcast. I think it's a stupid gimmick to begin with because it's been done. It's old news. It's early John Cena.
And I'm not disagreeing with that either, and I'll say this, and I'll say this again, I'll keep saying it to the day I die. Nothing is original in wrestling.
True, but here's the big problem with that. So I know, and it was a different time. You could get away with that stuff when Cena first came on the scene. I believe
now. Are you saying you can't do it now because of how the world is?
Correct. I mean, you can, but you have to be ready to, deal with the consequences of that. So, and then my other point though is I believe I said this on the podcast. I know I said it to other people. I'm not sure if I said it on the podcast though. I said it was also a really bad idea for a gimmick because eventually he's going to say something. It's only a matter of time. He's going to say something that's taken the wrong way or actually offensive, and it's going to cause, nothing but problems for AEW. And lo and behold, it happened. But here's why I blame AEW. So, okay, so let's assume for a moment that nobody goes over what he's going to be rapping about. That's a mistake. Like, you've got to. I got to think that if you have half a brain, you'd have to understand that somebody who comes out and does a diss rap at the beginning of every one of his matches, you've got to go over the gist of what he's going to say. So that was mistake number one. So let's say they do go over it. The producer goes over it and they said, okay, yeah, this, and this. Okay, yeah, that'll be funny. Go on out there. Okay, so that's strike one. Now let's assume that they don't, which that's still a strike because that's just dumb. So then we move on to strike two. He goes out and does the rap in front of the live crowd where it's recorded. Nobody in the live crowd makes a hubbub about it. I think they said it was 7,000 people. You know, there's a couple people going, oh, but nobody's like offended. So then they air the episode of Dark. It's on there for a couple days, and then somebody on Twitter makes a big deal out of it, and then all of a sudden it becomes a controversy. And then at one point they said they allegedly suspended Max Caster, but I don't think they did. But he's not been on TV, so I mean,
They said 2 months.
What's that?
2 months he's been suspended.
Yeah, but then I've heard other reports saying he wasn't suspended, but he's going to have to go through sensitivity training. And then Tony Khan made some statement about how, he didn't know about it and he doesn't edit Dark, but he's going to from now on. It's like, you're
Do
the
you think Dark would be edited, though, because it's going on YouTube?
Well, yeah, they have to edit the stuff together. They have to edit the.
Right, because, like, every match is, like, 5 minutes long, if that.
Right. But so that means the show is edited. The editor's going through. He puts that clip in there. Haha, that was funny, and then continues editing the show. Presumably, somebody higher than the editor has to watch it. I would hope. So then they approved it, whether that's one person or in a committee. So they got the stamp of approval. So basically, AEW as a company put their stamp on this and said, "Yep, this is good. Send it out." And then only after the fact did they throw Max Caster under the bus.
And I'm just going to go off track with this and everything. And I'm not making fun of this. Is you said rap and everything, and I'm not making fun of music or whatnot. But this is probably why you don't really hear any more rap music nowadays.
Any more what?
Rap music.
I mean, you hear a ton of rap music, but I mean, just in this kind of format, you're on, cable television, and I mean, here's the thing. I thought this is gonna I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. It was controversial, but I thought it was good. And then It wasn't just the Simone Biles joke that really made people mad. It was the Duke Lacrosse reference that really got people going. Which again, yeah, that was probably a little too far, but I mean, they were in Charlotte and he's trying to get heat, so I get where he was coming from.
Right.
And then he made a crack about Julia Hart's, nether region. But again, he's a heel, he raps, and he's trying to get heat. I thought it was one of his better ones, honestly. It wasn't corny. It was and I bet he was probably trying to get more intensity out of it. Now, I think somebody should have stopped him and been like, hey, man, this might be a little too far, just considering the.
Nope, nothing.
How about now?
There you
go. Okay. If that happens again, I'm just going to say screw it. Where was I? Okay, so yeah, somebody should have pulled him aside and said, yeah, that's probably too far, Max. You might want to. But suffice it to say, it stands to reason that there were at least 3 to 4 people that greenlit this, not including Max Caster, who came up with it. And I sincerely doubt. I would just think out of common etiquette, and you can set me straight on this, but if that's something you were going to do, you would probably, at least with Julia Hart, go up to her and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to be referencing you. Is this okay with you?
Right. Right. And I'm going to say this now, and you already said this a few minutes ago. Hold on 1 second.
YouTube censors coming to get you too.
Yeah, censors are coming to get me. Uh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Getting me here.
I'll continue blabbering.
Um,
But yeah, so
okay.
you would think he would talk to Julia Hart beforehand, which I hope he did, and if he didn't, I mean, hopefully that he learned something about that. But
No, you're right. But what I was going to say is, like you said, if this was early 2000s, yeah, you get away with the fine and everybody laugh. But nowadays, you and like you've been saying this whole time, and I'm not disagreeing, is you need to watch what you say because you don't want to get in trouble, just like you just did. Um, because the way the world is now, it's all. Well, how can I put it?
everybody's too sensitive.
Everybody's yeah, yeah, no, too sensitive. Everybody's uptight and everything else. Not like it was back in the day.
Well, and they also don't understand that Max Caster is not a real person. Max Caster is a character.
True, but
Like he's not as a human being, as a person, he is not that bad. He is portraying a character who is an asshole.
right, but even then, people are not going to understand that.
I know because people take, and I say people, I guarantee you that if it hadn't been for a handful of people on Twitter, this would not have been an issue at all. There might have been a couple of people who were like, holy crap, Max Caster just really laid into, this, and this, but I don't think it would have been an issue. But you get a couple of people who get offended by everything. They get offended by the wind blowing the wrong way. But I would just like to point out that, like, I know it was a different time, but Cena said worse when he was rapping.
You're right, but not everything was PG back then. Everybody just didn't care.
Yeah, and it was funny.
Right, right. Anyone is a bad guy or a good guy.
Yep, and Cena can get away with that, which is fine. Speaking of Cena, he's back.
Going for his 17th world title.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, and the way they made it out to be on SmackDown a few weeks ago is like, okay, they say no to Cena, Finn Balor's gonna get the shot. I'm just watching that. What I'm excited for. I'm okay with it because everybody looked at me like stupid. Like, um, why is that big of a deal? Like, why would you be excited for it? Because Finn Balor has beaten Roman Reigns. Finn Balor beat Roman Reigns to go to SummerSlam to beat Seth Rollins to win the Universal title.
Mm-hmm.
If Finn Balor can beat Roman Reigns once, he can do it again.
Yeah, that whole. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I figured, like, okay, well, when they finally do sign the contract, Finn's going to get it, and then they attack, Baron Corbin attacks him, and he's going to sign, and Cena finally signs. It's like, oh, no.
Yeah, that whole thing, not only was it incredibly stupid, talk about a giant middle finger for the fans. Because the contracts don't work that way.
I know. But my thing is even though Baron Corbin's been on the slump and everything with this homeless gimmick, poor gimmick, should have made it a fatal four-way. Triple threat fatal four-way. That way it protects Cena.
That would have been preferable. I agree.
It protects Cena and it protects Roman Reigns.
Well, and again, if you make it a fatal four-way, whoever wins, they look better because they beat four guys, not one. So if Finn wins, it's like, look at what he overcame. If Baron Corbin wins, you can get him on an upward trajectory, which I wouldn't recommend Corbin win, but I'm just saying if they went that way, they could do something with it. If Cena wins, he gets a 17th world title reign, and he did it by beating four guys. And then if Roman Reigns retains, he says, look, I'm literally the best ever because I beat four guys, one of whom was John Cena, one of whom was a man who's so desperate that he will stop at nothing to, get his life back, and another guy who was the first Universal Champion ever.
then he's got the bloodline to help.
Precisely. So either way, that fatal four-way would have been, no matter what the finish was, the fatal four-way would have been preferable. But now we just get Roman Reigns versus John Cena again.
Which is stupid because you could have set up for Roman Finn afterwards. Because there's no way Cena's going to stay after SummerSlam.
No, he's too busy making movies. Speaking of which, saw the Suicide Squad. It was awesome.
I have yet to see it.
Oh, dude, John Cena steals the show.
Okay.
He's hilarious in it.
Okay, well, I'll give you that one then.
Highly recommend. So yeah, I definitely wanted to touch on the Max Caster thing. One of the things that AEW did right is Christian Cage is the new Impact World Champion.
Yes, congratulations. Yes.
On the debut episode of Impact. And it was funny because when it first happened, I was like, oh man. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, no, I like this. This is good.
Wait a minute. Think about what you just said.
I know.
Rampage started.
I know.
Well, I'm just saying.
I totally get it.
I just want our fans to be like, did you say Impact? No, it was Rampage.
Oh, did I say Impact?
Yes.
Oh, my bad. I meant Rampage. But yeah, the longer it set it took a minute to set in, and then I guess Kenny Omega recently, actually I think it was yesterday, defended his AAA Mega Championship against Andrade El Idolo in Mexico, where Andrade was joined by his future father-in-law. I don't think they've been married yet, but his soon-to-be or actual father-in-law, Ric Flair.
No, they're not married yet, but they kept calling him his father-in-law.
Well, all things considered, like it's gonna happen. I just don't know if they've actually gotten married yet. And it was so funny because for a split second when I saw that, I completely forgot that he was engaged to Charlotte, and I'm like, why the fuck is Ric Flair there? And then I'm like, oh yeah.
But yeah, he just left WWE and everything, and he just went to AAA. I'm like, what?
Oh, here's the thing though. I think Ric Flair is going to be joining up with Andrade because Andrade is acting, and I completely didn't see the connection until I saw him with Ric Flair. Andrade El Idolo is acting like Ric Flair.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's Ric Flair and Chavo with Andrade. That's going to be freaking rich.
Don't worry, Charlotte will be there soon.
I wouldn't be shocked. I really would. What? Because, like, let's be real. Even if Charlotte's happy in WWE, let's be real. What else is she going to do?
I mean, she's about to be her dad's record.
Yeah, but it's a women's championship, so it's not the same thing. And let's really think about that. I know, but it's not a world heavyweight championship.
Wait.
It's not.
To the women, it is. It's the world heavyweight championship.
What's a female heavyweight?
Stop. Stop.
And let's think about this because this was another bad versus good thing. So this is a comparative good and right and wrong. For Charlotte to get her title back or not get her title back to beat her dad's record, she has to beat Nikki ASH.
But then that would make her a 15-time champion.
No, it's these headphones. They keep shutting off, and I can't figure out how to fix the timer. It shouldn't, because supposedly, as long as it's got audio through it, it's not supposed to shut off. I don't know why it is, but I will figure it out. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so Charlotte would have to beat Nikki ASH, which it was so funny. They didn't happen on the same night, but I watched them on the same night, and it was just an eerie comparison. So one of the right things is Fuego del Sol is finally officially All Elite.
Yes, yeah.
And I really dug that. I don't know if he knew he was getting his contract that night, but if I would have believed that he didn't know based on his reaction.
I mean, I understand why they did what they did. And so I get it, you know. But as soon as he sees Sammy coming to the ring, and he has a clipboard, a piece of paper on it. He's like, oh no, I'm getting signed. I'm getting signed.
That's what I think happened. And that's the only reason I can imagine, because like if I was booking this, if it had been me, I would have had him finally hit that tornado DDT to win the match. Now, I can't remember, was the match for the TNT Championship?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that was the only thing. I wouldn't have had it be a title match. I would have just had it. I just would have had it be.
It'd be that one more sweet thing.
Right,
like
but I don't want Fuego to win that championship. I just want him to get his contract. But I don't know. Either way, a guy in a mask has a great moment on television that's organic and feels good and feels real. And then you have Nikki ASH, who, and don't get me wrong, I loved Nikki Cross. I think what they're doing to her is a tragedy. Because Nikki Cross is good, and they're giving her the stupid gimmick, and bless her heart, she's doing everything she can with it. But it's just dumb.
Looks like she's having a better career as a superhero than she is as Nikki Cross.
Yeah, because they're pushing the idea, because Vince is probably like, haha, that's good shit. She's almost a superhero.
I mean, they have to call it like that instead of shit.
But again, just to illustrate how stupidly unbelievable this is, not only did she beat Rhea Ripley, she also beat Charlotte in the same match. But when she faces them in singles, she's barely winning.
Right.
Like, whoever is booking this stuff, it doesn't make sense.
That's sense for you.
I mean, honestly, yeah. And not to mention, it's just goofy. And maybe it's just me, but it's just dumb. I don't know where they're going with it. Although good news for Nikki Cross, I thought it meant they were burying her and then they were going to fire her, but it appears that she's going to be on TV for a while.
Well, I mean,
so good for her.
Well, yeah. Well, at least her husband's at home.
Yeah, they fired her husband. It just doesn't make any sense.
That's the wrong days of wrestling. You've got to understand that.
Did you also see the announcement that they are doing a fan fest in Chicago for All Out weekend?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to try to be there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I will make an announcement if I am going to be there. So if anyone who watches or listens, all one or two of you, I will be around.
You're going to be at Dynamite and Rampage. Right?
Correct. I'm going to be at Dynamite and Rampage, but I'm going to try to be at the Fan Fest that's on Saturday.
Okay.
And then unfortunately, I was unable to get my ticket for All Out, so I will be at home enjoying it, but I will be watching it.
I wish I could enjoy it.
Well, you can watch it, surely.
Huh?
You're going to watch it, surely.
Well, my off job prevents me from doing it.
Oh, well, you can enjoy the replay. I won't spoil it.
Sure. But no friends of mine that I have don't message me, Tommy. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Although speaking of babies, that would be why Hangman Adam Page is going to be off television for a bit.
Right.
So congratulations to him as well.
And I'm just going to say this now. I will give my prediction for that match. I don't think Christian's going to win.
No, I don't either.
And I always say this, and I love Christian to death. I do. And I was talking to a friend of mine from XCW. We were talking and everything, and as everybody knows by now, Brian Myers is challenging Christian Cage for the Impact World title at Emergence.
Yep.
Which, before I get to that, and I've even said this to my friend who I was talking to yesterday about it, I think every wrestling promotion you're not laughing at this, is watching my company, is watching XCW. Because and I only say that because everything we have done in our show, somehow the next week they do on their show.
Oh, that's too funny.
And we've been calling one of our shows Emergence for a couple of years now, for a few years now actually. And now Impact Wrestling just started calling one of their shows Emergence. It's like, what the hell?
Did you trademark it? Maybe you can get some heat.
You know how much it costs to trademark?
Yes, I know. I'm being funny. Where was I?
I think, and I think about this, and I understand why he said it because he's a Cardona fan. I think Brian Myers is going to win the belt from Christian and keep their feud going longer with Myers and Cardona.
I think that's a mistake.
What? That Brian Myers wins the world title?
Not necessarily, but I hate to say it this way because I swear I'm not trying to dog on Impact, but they need an AEW guy to have their belt. Because and again, I hate to say it this way, but if not, like I'll be brutally honest. Until Kenny Omega won the title, I didn't give a shit about Impact.
Yeah, but I just heard reports that he's done.
Who's done?
Kenny.
Yeah, he's done with Impact.
Right.
Right. So, but they need a name. In my opinion, they need a big name, and Christian Cage is a big enough name to keep people interested in Impact. Because I'll be honest, like again, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's wrestling product, but I try to watch Impact and I'm just bored because I don't care. The Jay White stuff is interesting, but I hate to say it this way, but whatever Impact's doing, I just don't care. It doesn't interest me as a fan. Now again, I'm not speaking for everybody else, but to me the product is just like, who cares? Now I think if you have Jay White ending up doing more in Impact, that could be interesting because they're doing a lot of cross promotion with New Japan right now,
Right.
which is interesting. Which actually brings me to another point. If you're done with that, I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I'm done. I just feel like my only personal thing is me seeing Brian Myers win the world title.
And I get that. I totally get that.
Then me seeing Matt Cardona win the world title, it's like, okay, that I would like.
Okay, and that might because Matt Cardona, I would argue, is a big enough name to at least get interest. Not as big as Kenny Omega, I would say, but he's up there.
I was just saying, like from a personal fan standpoint, like
sure.
I like them, and I feel like they can win the world titles.
Sure, absolutely. So I don't know if you saw it. I saw an interesting little poll on YouTube because now you can do those post things. Ring of Honor posted a poll asking people that if Ring of Honor was to open the forbidden door, which company would you like to see us work with? And there were a few options. AEW and WWE were on the list. And that got me thinking. I think if they can manage it, I think Ring of Honor should get some sort of agreement with WWE. And the reason I say, there's a few reasons I say that. One, oh no, there we go. We're back. So the reason I say that though is because there's a few reasons why I say that. One, if Ring of Honor jumps in with AEW, that's fine. There can be a lot of good talent exchanges, and it would help Ring of Honor. But they'd be the last one to the game because AEW is already working with AAA. They're already working with New Japan. They're already working with indirectly. They've been working with GCW, like because they got Nick Gage on there, and then Joey Janela is involved with both. That kind of thing. Which, by the way, Joey Janela came back out of nowhere and gave Sonny Kiss a pile driver, which thank God that was needed, but that's a side thing. So, but let's also consider this. we brought up Adam Cole earlier, and as we all know, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong are all Ring of Honor alumni, and big former champions and pillars of that company.
Right.
Ring of Honor could become, and then plus you've got guys like Damian Priest that came from Ring of Honor. There's a lot. Tyler Black, I'm sorry, Seth Rollins, who was formerly Tyler Black. You've got a lot of guys that have ties to Ring of Honor. Kevin Owens, I'm sorry, not Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn, who wrestles a lot like El Generico, and El Generico was synonymous. He rolled his eyes. But you get my point. There's a lot of guys that, and I called it the indie era for a reason because a lot of those guys came from Ring of Honor.
Right.
Ring of Honor and New Japan. And then AJ Styles, who has ties to Ring of Honor. All these guys. And the Ring of Honor's got some good talent, don't get me wrong. But could you imagine seeing Jay Lethal in a WWE ring representing Ring of Honor? Or the Briscoes?
Well, yeah. If that forbidden door happened, yes. But it just makes me laugh because you say the Briscoes, and I think of a promo that they cut on WWE a few years ago.
Yep.
That says they weren't cosmetically pleasing enough for their TV.
Yeah. And then not to mention your new obsession Danhausen could be on WWE programming.
Hey, right there. ProWrestlingTees.com. Love that Danhausen.
But I say this because that might that might inspire Adam Cole to stick around under the WWE banner. Bobby Fish may or may not be going back to Ring of Honor, could still be involved with his friends in a storyline, and they could do some really cool stuff, and Ring of Honor could end up being like that new developmental system for WWE, which it already kind of was unofficially. Like they didn't have anything written in stone, but there were a lot of guys that went from Ring of Honor to WWE.
Right.
And so that could be your buffer. That could be your buffer between, just picking people obscurely from the various indies to NXT and then further up the line. And then you can have some people that are under developmental contracts who aren't quite ready for NXT TV, but you want to get them some in-ring experience. You can send them to Ring of Honor. It kind of be like their new OVW or new FCW, but with a bigger stage, because now again, this would require Vince McMahon to get his head out of his own ass because Ring of Honor is not WWE. So it wouldn't be an official developmental system because Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting and they're not about. Maybe they would sell to WWE, I don't know, but I doubt it.
Well, Ring of Honor works a totally different style than WWE style.
Correct. So I think it would still be an unofficial farm system, but it would be if WWE needed new talent in a pinch and they had a working relationship, they could hit up Ring of Honor, is what I'm saying.
Well, right, but that's the thing is, like, even though it's like, okay, we got them here, Ring of Honor, and we pull them to us, now I got to read. But that's the problem is, like, you got everybody who works. That's why Tommaso Ciampa doesn't want to go to the main roster.
I don't blame him.
Because he can work the same way he did on the Indies and then Ring of Honor on NXT.
Yep.
Okay? And a lot of the guys who do go from Ring of Honor to NXT, they get them trained to work up north, up on big time. And by the time they get to the big circuit, it's like, all right, now I got to work a match in 5 minutes or less. And it's like, I can't do that. I'm used to working all these high spots and running fast and everything else.
Right, and arguably I think this cross promotion would benefit Ring of Honor a lot more than WWE, but it wouldn't hurt WWE, because get this, and this is where you could this could start a very small wrestling war, but it could start a bit of some conflict. So Ring of Honor basically got dumped by New Japan. I don't know who actually terminated the agreement, but I believe it was New Japan. and Ring of Honor basically, and then I think they still cooperate with CMLL, or maybe no, they don't anymore because of New Japan. So Ring of Honor's kind of been on their own. So basically, you could do a storyline where essentially Ring of Honor as a company is like, you know what, screw all you guys, because we were the first big indie after ECW died, and yet after all this, or except maybe TNA. No, I think Ring of Honor was first.
2002.
Yep, you're right. So Ring of Honor was like, look, we were the first ones to rise out of the ashes of what was ECW, and we're still here. And now you all think we're a joke, or we're going to show you we're going to go to war with WWE.
Right.
And they can do the invasion angle, but they can do it right this time.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that either.
Well, hear me out, because they won't do it because WWE is against long-term storytelling. But if they did, think about how awesome this would be. So the first thing you do is Bobby Fish goes back to Ring of Honor, and Bobby Fish is pissed. So Bobby Fish and a few Ring of Honor guys show up at NXT. And they start jumping dudes. And then out of nowhere, you get Kyle O'Reilly, you get Roderick Strong, and then a surprise return from Adam Cole. And basically, you have a long, drawn out story of where basically Ring of Honor has taken over NXT. Because the NXT workers aren't happy either. So they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're this big joke to, the main roster. And then you move some of these guys up to the main roster where they start jumping, guys on the main roster. And then you can have various storylines where people like, maybe you have somebody like Kevin Owens eventually join their ranks, or maybe he says, no, I'm a WWE guy now because Ring of Honor screwed me over when I needed money, like when I was desperate. This, that, like you could do so much with it.
I agree.
Now, that being said, they won't do it because that would, but could you imagine, just imagine this for a minute. Who would you say is a guy either in Ring of Honor now or WWE that kind of just epitomized Ring of Honor?
That's who in Ring of Honor right now epitomizes Ring of Honor?
Jay Lethal. I'm just going to go ahead and say Jay Lethal.
I would actually say that, yes.
Jay Lethal versus Cena.
Yeah, and Cena would bury him.
Maybe. It'd still be a good match. Or maybe you have Jay Lethal versus somebody like Roman Reigns. Or Jay Lethal versus Bobby Lashley.
Okay, you're putting him up against people that's like...
Jay Lethal could do his Macho Man on WWE.
I mean, he could.
This would also require WWE to start being more serious with their storytelling. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, which is another reason why I say it wouldn't happen. But my inner fantasy booker just couldn't pass that up. I still think even if they didn't do like a full-blown storyline angle, they could still benefit each other from a working relationship where they can exchange talent and, again, Ring of Honor essentially being an unofficial farm system that they can pull from when they feel that they need talent. And not only that, they can kind of try them out without putting them under contract. So like, let's say WWE is interested in somebody like Jay Lethal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they throw Ring of Honor some money and say, yeah, give us Jay Lethal for a couple dates. We want to see how he does. How about now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people. This thing is annoying as hell. I would wager to say they'd probably put Jay Lethal somewhere like NXT.
Okay. Is there anybody in the chat saying anything today?
No, not today. We do much better on the audio platforms, which I do want to let people know. If you do ever want to comment or ask a question to us that we can answer on the podcast, if you go to anchor.fm, like our landing page on anchor.fm, which there is a link in the description, you can send us an audio message and we can play it on the air. We can do that. We have the technology.
Is there anybody in the chat watching?
There does appear to be some people in here, but nobody's chatting. So, chat, damn you.
Everybody, we always say, if you got something to say, go ahead and say it. We'll go along with
you. Oh, this is great. So I got a text message from our special guest that we're gonna have on.
Oh, okay.
He is still down. We had to postpone him a little bit just because of scheduling, but he is still good.
Okay.
Just gotta figure it out. So we will. Which, speaking of which, this might give people a hint. Our special guest that we're gonna have on has just started a new podcast of his own with Vince Russo.
Uh-oh.
Which is hilarious because I don't think they like each other very much.
Oh.
Yeah, I just found out about this on Thursday.
From him?
Yeah. Well, no, from a friend of mine who knows him. But speaking of which, do you know any updates on our buddy Hazard F5? How that's going?
With him and Conrad and everything?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's still he's not on the podcast himself, but he does gives Conrad information all the time.
Right, and then I've heard Conrad, because they do things where they answer questions, and Hazard, I've heard him ask a couple of questions, or a couple of questions that he crafted, and I keep forgetting to ask you, so I'll ask you now. Does he do like Q&A things? Because I've had a couple of belt questions, and I'm like, oh, I should ask Hazard about that, but.
Yeah, he actually just did a live video. All of those live. I think he did do a live one on YouTube.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah, he does Q&As.
Okay, so you might actually know this because this has been eating away at me. So the FTW belt.
Yes.
Is that the FTW belt? I know it's not the first one, but the one that Taz had last in ECW. Is that the same belt, or did they make a new one?
No, that's the same belt.
I thought so, because it looked like an older belt.
Okay, Taz has had two different versions.
Correct. The first.
That's like an answer. Taz has had two different versions of the FTW title. He had the first one, which was.
It was just an old. It was just an old heavyweight title belt that they painted the strap on. Correct.
Well, no. See, ECW used their tag titles at one point was the IC title from WWF.
Got it.
But they used the IC belts as tag team belts, and they also used the Winged Eagle as their television title.
Got it.
Okay, but what they did is they took another TV title and spray painted it orange, and they put FTW on, like a bunch of stickers and FTW and Taz on it, just to make it like he's the FTW champion.
Right.
And then after that belt disappeared, another one appeared, which is the one that you see now.
Right. Yeah, I knew there were two. I knew there were two versions, but I didn't know if they made a new one for AEW TV. Which I know a lot of people. Speaking of right and wrong here, I know a lot of people are like shitting on the FTW belt, but I like it. I like that it's in AEW, and I know it's not officially recognized, but I like it, and I want them to incorporate it more.
Well, that's like the $1 million title. It's not a real belt, but it's still the same thing.
Precisely. Yeah, but the thing of it is the FTW title can kind of become that unofficial title. So when you have somebody who frankly should be a champion, but they either, they're occupied or they have a storyline going, you can legitimize somebody by giving them the FTW belt by saying like, yeah, you're championship material, even though you don't have like the real championship yet.
Well, reason why Taz made it back in ECW is because he had been the television champion for so long, lost it, and coincidentally enough, the same guy that he beat for the TV title, which was Shane Douglas, is also the world champion that he beat for. But he says he was the unofficial, uncrowned world champion. Every time you get a shot at it, trying to get a shot, he wouldn't get the shot. So he created his own belt, the Fuck the World title.
Yep.
Which that's what it stands for. And then he finally got shot the world title. He finally won it and everything. But before he won for that, he lost the FTW belt to Sabu.
On purpose.
Right, on purpose. Just to get that shot at the world title. Wins the ECW world title. And fights Sabu again to unify both belts.
Right.
And the FTW title disappears.
Right.
Until he brings it back years later with
Brian Cage, yep.
Yep. And you had another belt question?
I can't think of it now. But I know the FTW belt was nagging at me.
Okay.
But yeah. And then I don't, and I didn't forget, but honestly, I don't think I have a match of the fortnight this time. Because nothing really, I mean, there were good matches, but nothing really like stuck out and was like, holy crap, that was awesome, like beyond belief. Although I guess, do what?
Ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't have a match in Fortnite. I'm trying to get him to do.
I don't know. I guess if I had to pick one, I would probably say Christian Cage versus Omega. It was a good match.
Okay.
I was also really entertained by the Sydal brothers and
the 6-man tag.
Yeah. I know it's not Dante Wright. Who's the other one from Top Flight? I can't remember his name.
I don't remember who it was either, but I know what match you're talking about.
Yeah, it was one half of Top Flight, the Sydal brothers versus, I believe it was the Acclaimed, and I forget the other one.
Was it them?
No, maybe it wasn't. No, this was on Dynamite. This was on Dynamite. Who? Oh, it was the Bucks and I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember, but that match was really good too.
I thought it was HFO.
Yes, you're right. It was HFO. Oh my gosh.
No. Because HFO wrestled
Jurassic Express and them.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. Wow. We should quit while we're ahead.
HFO wrestled Best Friends.
That's right. Who did Top Flight and the Sydal brothers wrestle?
I don't remember.
I want to say it was the Bucks and somebody else. I just can't remember who the third person was.
Would have been Nakazawa? Or Cutler?
No, Cutler wasn't wrestling. He was out there, but he wasn't wrestling. I cannot remember to save my life.
That's bad.
I know, it's really bad. Who are you? Well, I think I covered everything I wanted to this week as far as the right and wrong, unless you had anything to add.
Well, I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, finally got a match from Fortnite out of him after, what, a month and a half?
Hey, there's only been 2 fortnights. And it means it's your turn next time, so I don't have to think about it.
No, you're right.
Except yours is going to be easy.
Why is mine going to be easy?
Because you're going to have a great amount of matches to choose from.
I got 2 weeks to figure this out, buddy.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, the other wrong. So before we go, I will touch on this. AEW hasn't made this mistake yet, but they're in danger of making it. They've got a very oversaturated roster. And we've kind of touched on this before, but if they don't book it properly, they're basically going to be in danger of only pushing the ex-WWE guys. And that could be problematic.
I think that's why they got Rampage to help them out.
I agree, and I think that's great. And I liked Rampage. The first episode was really good. It almost didn't feel long enough. I wonder how long it's going to be before Rampage becomes 2 hours.
I give it a couple months.
Me too. I'm kind of in the same boat because it just... Now, granted, these were really big matches, so there were only 3 of them, so that might be why it didn't feel super long. But I wouldn't be shocked if Rampage goes to 2 hours very soon. Oh, this thing pisses me off. I might just see if Eric will trade me because his old headset works just fine with my setup here.
Well, I'm sure he'll trade you whenever he gets out of what he's doing.
Yeah, if we ever get out. Like I said, they let me go. I'm not sure how much more free time we'll have. Well, they said, I'll put it this way, we're going to be able to get back on the air with some changes.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably going to get in trouble for some of the stuff I said on this one, agreeing with Max Caster and all, but it's how I feel, damn it.
Well, I don't want us.
They don't.
Stay away.
Nobody cares about. Nobody in the mainstream media gives wrestling. No, nobody cares about wrestling in the mainstream media. So I think we're good.
You see this right here? I got this. I just right there.
Why do you? That's to add some holes to a belt, yeah.
No, it can add holes to something on it.
No.
Get it.
Okay.
I think that should be good for today.
Yep, and then I think on the next podcast in 2 weeks we will have our special guest. I will say it may not be on a Sunday just for scheduling reasons, but we will make an announcement because I actually have to text him back after we get off here. So we will figure it out.
Speaking of things before we go, how are we on our contest?
Yeah, we got nothing.
Had nothing?
Got nothing.
Okay.
Nobody said we've gotten some subscribers, but nobody has submitted, so I don't know who to give credit to for that.
Oh, okay. Well,
you gotta submit the likes, people.
Maybe need to make another video on that or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I think it ended. Didn't it end in July, or did we say the end of August? I can't remember.
No, I think we said July.
Yeah, I think we did.
What did you? I don't know for sure. I'm just gonna ask when you're in for the other one. Did you guys do good?
No, we didn't hit our goal.
Okay. Well.
So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, I suppose. Although, like I said, we are doing a lot better on the audio side of it. Which, speaking of which, you guys who listen to New Jersey, let me hear from you because I want to know. I want to know who's listening. Because our biggest state is still New Jersey. And I don't know anybody in New Jersey. Do you know anybody in New Jersey?
No.
I haven't a clue. So apparently we have some diehard fans in New Jersey. We have no idea who you are.
We have people listening around the world, right?
Yes, but New Jersey is our #1 state.
What's our #1 country?
USA.
Okay, what's our #2 country?
I'd have to look. I think it's Germany and then the UK and then Ireland.
Germany, UK, then Ireland?
Yep.
Wow. All right. Need to get some Japan in there.
Actually, I think Japan's on the list. I think it's just lower language problem.
Okay.
And by the way, all the people listening in Hesse, guten Tag.
Oh, gosh, all right. Well, I think that should be good for this week.
Yeah, I know. We're wrapping it up.
Wait, what?
They're back to. I know. We're wrapping it up. Okay. We gotta wrap it up. They're kicking me off.
Okay. Just go ahead and say your spiel, and we should be good to
go. Okay. Yep. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. We will make an announcement about the special guest episode.
All right.
All right. Later. See everybody later.